planet in the name of the Earth.
I claim this planet in the name of Mars.
Can't see a thing.
You can't?
Yeah, can I? I don't think there's anything up there. Really, I don't.
Certainly looked like I saw something.
What are they?
They look like women from Mars.
Hi. I'm Paul.
What have you done to him?
He fainted.
Yeah, but you made him faint.
But it's not like I set my phaser to faint.
You've got a phaser?
Oh, God.
Out front now, the former Pentagon military official who ran the covert government program up until this last November, Luis Elizondo. Luis, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, first, tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
Sure. The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as eyewitness reports, through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security, in a nutshell.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think it's probably been a little bit mischaracterized in some of the social media you see and what people put out, because a lot of times when we don't have a lot of information, we tend to fill in those gaps with what we think is logical. And there's still, by the way, a lot we really don't know. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. So people
so
are
do you
talking.
think, I mean,
I
know, but do you believe, when you get that Navy pilot saying what he said, do you think that that was, a UFO? To obviously, I don't have any other word to use, or that, or something else?
Sure, that's a great question. Keeping in mind, it's not just the pilot's testimony on observation. Sure, when someone comes to you who's in charge of a multi-million-dollar weapon platform, who maintains a top secret security clearance, who is paid and trusted by this country to go fight wars and to fly over cities with live munitions, and by the way, they're trained observers with millions of dollars invested in their training.
Yep.
I would submit to you it's pretty compelling. But on top of that, it's not just the eyewitness testimony. It is actual electro-optical data and radar returns. It's also people like radar operators and air traffic controllers. So I think the discussion should be maybe a little bit broader than that. I think people are focusing just on 2 videos coming from a set of F-18s when really it's a lot more than that.
So let me just ask you point blank the question: do you believe that life from somewhere else, while you ran this program, came here, visited, observed?
I will tell you unequivocally that through the observation, scientific methodologies that were applied to look at this phenomena, that these aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory nor in any foreign inventory that we are aware of.
So I know you're being clear, but I mean, the answer is yes.
I can't speak on behalf of the government. Obviously, I'm not in the U.S. government anymore. My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone, whatever that means.
Well, for decades, only crackpots and crazy people believed in UFOs. That's what I thought anyway. And then in recent years, it turns out that governments have been taking them seriously all along, very seriously. Nick Pope is a journalist who has spent years researching UFOs for the British government. He says that UFOs aren't just real. They also frequently come close to crashing into commercial airliners, among other things. Nick Pope joins us tonight. Nick, thank you very much for coming on. So it's really not a question of, do governments believe UFOs are real? Yes, they do. The United States government does. The British government does. The question is, do they have any idea what they are, where they're from?
No, we don't. We keep an open mind on it. We don't rule anything off, take nothing off the table with this. Our point really is that whatever these things turn out to be, there is a serious defense, national security, and air safety issue here.
Yes. Well, so that's kind of the nub of it, and that's where my interest comes from. So why aren't governments encouraging the population to, as they say about terrorism, if you see something, say something, report sightings to the government so we can make sense of this potential threat?
Well, they should be, and that's what we certainly did at the Ministry of Defense for many years. We took it very seriously. Our own pilots were seeing these things. We were having radar operators track them. And we knew, again, through intelligence and through open source material, we knew that the Russians and the Chinese and others were working on this too. The problem was that just the pop culture baggage from the term UFO, flying saucer, little green men, people don't take it seriously. But they should.
Thing one tonight, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs, unidentified flying objects, and weirdly, no one seems to be too worked up about it. The remarkable admission by the Pentagon came as a result of reporting by the New York Times, pretty august publication, which published a story of the mysterious UFO program over the weekend. In response to questions from the Times, Pentagon officials this month acknowledged the existence of the program, insisting that the effort had ended after 5 years back in 2012. But the former head of that program, Luis Elizondo, told the Times the UF program never shut down, and a successor was appointed after he resigned in October. So what did they find? Quote, the program collected video and audio recordings of reported UFO incidents, including footage from a Navy FA-18 Super Hornet showing an aircraft surrounded by some kind of glowing aura, traveling at high speeds and rotating as it moves. The Navy pilots can be heard trying to understand what they're seeing. There's a whole fleet of them, one exclaims. So, if you think it's nuts that we held the news of an official UFO investigation all the way to Thing 1, you're going to love that we have the official video of a UFO in Thing 2 in 60 seconds. So, no big deal, but the Pentagon has confirmed the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a $22 million initiative that studied UFOs for at least 5 years, beginning in 2007, and they released video, including a 2004 encounter when 2 fighter jets chased an oval-shaped white object near San Diego. They also released a second video with cockpit audio as pilots describe what they're seeing. The Pentagon declined to give a date or location.
Dude, there's a drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 100. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
New reports, 5 pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects. ABC's Gio Benitez is at the Hudson River right here in New York with more. And Gio, the Navy is now investigating?
They are, Cecilia. Yeah, a lot of these UFOs have been captured on video, some of them over water, and now at least one pilot says he saw them daily.
New reporting this morning on unidentified flying objects in our airspace. The New York Times speaking with 5 Navy pilots who've all said they've encountered UFOs during training missions up and down the East Coast. The pilots even noting that the objects were accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew.
Clearly, this is nothing that we're used to seeing out there. We submitted a safety report saying that there was an unidentified object in our working space, and we don't know what to do.
This on the eve of a new History Channel series called Unidentified: Inside America's UFO Investigation.
The object then appears to accelerate rapidly.
The show chronicles a year-long investigation that includes former military intelligence officials speaking out on numerous reported encounters.
We trust the American people to know that there are certain countries that have nuclear warheads, and yet we don't trust the American people to know that there's something in our airspace that we don't know what it is.
Overnight, the Navy telling us that in recent years, there's been a number of reports of unauthorized and/or unidentified aircraft in our airspace, and therefore, they've implemented new steps to report further possible incidents.
And listen, nobody at the Department of Defense is saying these are extraterrestrial. In fact, they say that there could be earthly explanations for all of this, but a lot of people are left wondering, guys.
I like how you did the air quotes. Earthly explanations. We'll see. All right, more investigating needed. Thank you, Gio.
The late great astrophysicist Stephen Hawking believed with more than 100 billion stars in our galaxy, the odds are pretty good that aliens exist. And he's not alone. Every day, people across Canada report seeing a UFO. And while most can be identified, as CTV's Janet Dirks reports, some things just can't be explained.
I got it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
What the hell?
That strange light in the sky is one of 1,100 UFO sightings in Canada last year. According to the annual survey released by Ufology Research of Manitoba, there are at least 3 such sightings in the country every day.
UFO reports are still a thing. People are reporting them in greater and greater numbers every year.
Montreal is Canada's UFO capital, with 74 sightings reported last year, followed by Toronto, then Vancouver. It's not that these cities are on an extraterrestrial highway. It's a matter of population, says the report's author.
If a tree's falling in the forest, you need somebody to hear it. So if there's a UFO in the sky, the more people around to see it, the more reports you get.
None of the sightings match the drama of the X-Files.
The truth is out there.
But something was out there, according to 10 campers in Quebec who reported a triangular object that hovered and then flew off. One of them drew the scene. In Oshawa, a wildlife photographer captured an odd-shaped disc in the sky. This scientist says people should be critical, but still open-minded.
There's a few that really just get me scratching my head saying, what could it have been?
The survey says of the 1,100 sightings, only 8% are unexplained, and that can be whittled down to 1% of so-called high-quality unknowns.
In fact, none of these cases, shout that aliens are here. But what they do say is that people are reporting things, and maybe science should take a closer look at some of them.
Since the survey began nearly 30 years ago, more than 19,000 Canadians have reported seeing something strange in the sky. That makes them think we're not alone. Janet Dirks, CTV News, Calgary.
Hey everybody, I'm Tony Masilis, and this is irregularly scheduled programming. Well, 2008 contender Dennis Kucinich made some headlines at this week's Democratic debate when Tim Russert asked him this question.
The godmother of your daughter, Shirley MacLaine, writes in her new book that you sighted a UFO over her home in Washington State. Did you see a UFO?
I did, and the rest of the account, I didn't. It was unidentified flying object. Okay, it's unidentified. I saw something. Now
well, he's at 1% in the latest Gallup poll, so it's really not likely that honesty is going to do much damage. But consider this: if he were to actually win, he would not be the first commander-in-chief to claim a close encounter of the third kind. Jimmy Carter said he saw a UFO back in 1969. He pledged during his 1976 campaign to make every piece of information this country has about UFO sightings available to the public. That never happened. In a speech back in 1985, Ronald Reagan told Russia's President Gorbachev that they would put aside their differences, quote, if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species from another planet outside in the universe. And even Bill Clinton has expressed an interest in UFOs. Check out the website Presidential UFO for information about the views each president has had about life on other planets.
Recently, when UFOs came up on Jimmy Kimmel, she corrected his terminology.
And you know, there's a new name. It's unexplained aerial phenomenon.
No comment on the issue from Sanders or Trump.
You really believe that story?
That story happens to be highly classified.